Hi, this is Phil. This is video 8 now. This is to continue the story, getting justice, finding the truth, sharing the truth, getting in contact with the kids from the Anna Wilson home, and to be able to get closure and move on with my life. Now, the next section with this video now is just basically doing a recap from 2018 in 2017 in December, when I saw Sussex Police. At that time, later on, I was actually put forward to a social worker who was going to review me and keep an eye on me for the foreseeable future. Now, since Sussex Police had been in contact with me, I had one phone call, which was from a social worker in the last year and a half. He contacted me a couple of months after being in contact with Sussex Police, and literally a year and 4 months has gone by and not a phone call from a social worker from East Sussex County Council. So I'm a bit disappointed by that, really, because I felt like I was going through a tough time and I wasn't really getting any support or any help. Now I'm in the stage where I am thinking that all I'm talking is just talking about the past and talking about the past and talking about the past. That's what people talk about to psychotherapists, therapists, psychiatrists, talking about the past. But at the end of the day, what I really want is justice. Now, I'm getting frustrated now because of the situation I'm in, and I'm so annoyed. So I'm now thinking there's no other way of me being able to go forward, because I've been in contact with NAPAC. They're amazing. I mean, at the end of the day, they are like a counselling organisation, really, who basically deal with people who've been in my situation. NAPAC stands for National Association of People Abused in Childhood. And National Association of People Abused in Childhood, I think that's what it stands for. It's roughly around that terminology. I've also been in contact with the NSPCC, and then of course also being in contact with Sussex Police, Kent County Council, East Sussex County Council, Kent County Council. And I really am thinking I've gone through the whole system. I can't think of anyone else to get hold of. So I've now got to the point where the local Greenwich Local Authority, Royal Borough of Greenwich County Council, can't do anything more. Salvation Army can't do any more, purely because my information basically doesn't exist on the Anna Wilson home, or it exists on me. So if you look back on some of my previous, it might be in the previous video where I was talking about I got hold of a solicitor in January of last year. That is like a year and a quarter ago. Well, nearly, not quite a year and a quarter ago, but coming over just over a year now, because it's now the beginning of March. I got in contact by quite an accident with the same solicitor. Now, previously I went through the Law Society solicitors, and then the next time round I went through solicitors such as child abuse specialist solicitors. I got taken back to the same solicitor which I contacted originally in January, but I never actually saved his number. And then I suddenly realised I got the email which I contacted him with, and I suddenly thought, I've been in contact with him before. He now looks at my case, and I can't give his name away, but at the end of the day, he's tried to do as much as he possibly could do for me. But he said, I've got everything against me. Now, this is what this video is about. Everything which is against me about getting justice. See, when I was about 3-4 years old, when I first moved to the Anna Wilson's home, I was a child. I was a toddler. And the first thing which people ask for when you go to a solicitor is, have you got a crime reference number? Crime reference number when I was 3 or 4 years old? I don't think so. So I haven't got that. The next thing is, did it get reported within 3 years of me coming out of care? Which meant by the age of 21. Well, if you realise this, most people don't start talking about the abuse which they went through as a child, not until they're in their 40s, 50s, sometimes even in their 60s. But I was trying to deal with it in my 20s, and I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. And I was literally getting in contact with the police on maybe every 6-7 years. And I just felt like that, you know, every time I called, I just felt like they're not calling me back and nothing's happening out of it. So I gave up, and then another 6-7 years later, I tried again. So I haven't got a crime reference number because I was only 3 or 4 years old. I didn't report it by 3 years of me coming out of care because I'm now 46, and I started dealing with it when I was 44. I am now at the stage now where there's other things which are against me. Kent Police will not do anything more about this case because the abuser is dead. So it's off their radar now. The abuser is dead. I've got no case. These solicitors, some solicitors will say for, some will say against. The abuser is dead. But a lot of people will say that if the abuser is dead, it doesn't matter if the abuser is dead because it's the organisation which they work for, which would be accredited for, which is the Salvation Army. And the other thing is that because of my case, some people will say for, some people will say it's against me, is basically my case is not sexual abuse, as far as I can remember. Now, I'm sure if I was sexually abused, I probably would have remembered. Some people say that some things happen to them when they're kids, that they lock it away in the back of their memory so much that they even forget about that it even happened. Now, in my mind, I suffered from child neglect. I suffered from mental torture, psychological torture, and I suffered from physical abuse. But it wasn't sexual, as far as I can remember. And the other thing which is against me is that this case is historic. It was a long time ago. So I've got all these things against me, which means I haven't got a hope in hell on taking this to court. Because a lot of court cases will look at this and think there's a lot of things against me, and especially with the 3-year thing. If I don't report it within a 3-year period until I was 21, from when I was coming out of care when I was 18, I've not got a hope in hell unless it's a real special reason for me to be able to get some form of justice. So I went around 15 different solicitors in my area, not realising that what I'm dealing with is that I've got to go to a specialist solicitor, and I went to every single solicitor in my area, which came up on my phone, you know, when I put it on the internet. And unfortunately enough, I just wasn't going anywhere because they were the wrong types of solicitors, and they weren't even dealing with child abuse allegations of any form at all. So I thought, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to a specialist form of solicitor. So I went to about 5 or 6. Every single one of them turned me down. I literally told them the whole story, and they all basically said, we can't take on your case because your case doesn't have a high enough percentage for us to be able to take on the case to win it. So for a solicitor to take on your case, it has to be a real high level of a chance of them winning the case for them to take it on. Because I would be going under a no-win, no-fee or legal aid type solicitor-based case. Solicitors would look at my case and think it's only a 45-50% chance of winning the case. But they really want a case which is like 75-80% chance of winning the case, because they don't want to put all the effort into it and then find out that they don't get the case they don't win the case, and then they're going to lose a lot of money by laying on loads of hours and loads of solicitors putting in the hours and the legwork to basically get the case to court, and then find out that they don't get the case is lost, they don't get paid. So what happens is solicitors don't like to risk taking on a case like mine, because my case is too complicated, it's not severe enough, and I don't have a crime reference number. I didn't report it within 3 years of me coming out of care. It's an historical case, it's not sexual, and everything's against me. So literally I've come to a standstill, and that's where I started deciding that I've got to do something next. I've got to do something different, and this is the reason why I'm doing my YouTube. Now look, this is getting towards the end of this video. Sorry if I've wombled on a bit and waffled on a bit, but you know what, I'm trying to keep it short, but it's impossible for me and with the way I am. So what I'm going to do now is this. I will take you down to the next video in a couple of days time, and that will be the main reason why I'm doing all these videos. I will tell you what happened to me at the Anna Wilson's home. But what I'm going to say in this, before I get off this video, is this. My personality comes down to the way I was brought up as a kid, especially when I was brought up at the Anna Wilson home. And my abuser would basically psychologically bully me on a daily basis, mentally. I also had physical abuse. And the way the lady made me feel, she made me feel inadequate. She made me feel that nobody cared. She made me feel that no one was listening. And she made me not worth anything. She made me feel like I was a piece of dirt. I was just not worth anything. Nobody would listen to me. Nobody cares about me. Nobody loves me. Nobody wants to know you. And this is how I was made to feel on a regular basis. Because unfortunately enough, I stood up to myself, and I shouldn't have. And maybe that's my personality, the way I am now, because I literally stand up for anything which isn't right. But anyway, I'm going to get off this video now before it goes on to being too long. But anyway, this is getting justice, this is getting the truth, and basically get reunited with the kids from the Anna Wilson home, and to get justice, and to share this, and to share the truth, and to get more of the truth. I'm out of here. Take care. Bye.